Time now to get the latest trends in dive retailing, travel, and training with Level Up, the podcast of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. Now, here's your host, Scuba Radio's Greg the Dive Master.
And welcome. I am Greg the Dive Master. We do Scuba Radio every Saturday, 3 to 5 Eastern Time. However, today it is time for our monthly Level Up podcast for Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. I have the man behind the madness, Willie Klein, with me, along with a group of writers. I mean, this might be a record breaker, Willie. What do you think?
I think it's the most number we've had on a show. So thank you, everybody, for making it happen here.
What do we got going on before we get to all our writers? Because you got some pretty good information about the industry this month, don't you?
I do. But before I jump into that, I think I want to introduce our editor at large. We're welcoming Neil Watson back. He hasn't been in our show in a few months.
Yay!
So welcome back, Mr. Watson.
God.
Nice to be back.
Yes.
Sure, thank you.
I don't know if you have anything you would like to say before we start.
It's warmed up in Fort Lauderdale.
It's not raining iguanas anymore?
No, it's warmed up.
Oh, okay. Good.
The frozen iguanas have woken from their
It's been raining iguanas. It's
cryogenic
crazy.
frozen state.
We've been laughing
the crap out of everyone.
We've been laughing at some of those stories of people like throwing them in their car and then they come back to life and stuff.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
It should make for some good 911 calls that we're going to get eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a Florida thing. Yeah.
Britton, why don't you give us a little update on what's going on in your world? Britton's our advertising sales manager for the magazine, and he's got some great information and something cool to offer everybody.
I am just happy to be here. It's great to see everyone again. I gotta say I don't have that much, actually.
The press release stuff, that's cool.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There is that. Not to take up too much time, just to throw it out there. We do kind of as a part of the partnership with us provide public press releases for you at no cost. So if you do have any announcements, product news, or staff updates, or really anything, any incoming initiatives as well, feel free to send those to us, and we'd be more than happy to get that info out for you.
Yeah, and not just big companies. I mean, if you're a retailer out there or any of our writers, anybody's done anything that you'd like to do a press release, we don't charge for it. It goes on the homepage of our website, which last month pulled in 50,000 impressions. So we're really pleased. The industry is really responding to our hub concept of being an ecosystem for retailer training. Plus, we push it out to our social media, which right now is hitting about 32,000 impressions a month, all B2B stuff. So, and it's free. It's on no charge. It's a service to the industry because we want to help people get words out, things out that need to be communicated. So thank you, Britton. That's exactly correct.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff as always. So Willie, before we get to all our writers, we got some big news to share for industry insiders, don't we?
We do. And two things. I'm going to point out this incredible photo that's right over my shoulder here of this beautiful wreck in Kwajalein Island. And I have to thank Mr. Mark Hatter. He's going to be speaking today about how he actually got the shot, the over and under shot. But I want to thank him personally for supplying this breathtaking image for our January cover. And what's really cool about today is very good friends of ours, Mark, Christina, and Gavin Young, which are Gavin and Mark are here, actually dove this wreck and wrote about it in the issue. And they dove it. It's on a forbidden island, a place that you can't go to because it's a government installation. So it's kind of a once in a cool world lifetime dive. So we got the guy that shot the shot, and then we got a family that actually got to dive it there. And Gavin's an instructor, and Mark's a dive master too. So that's cool to have something a little different today on our show.
Sweet.
We're honored to also have the new interim CEO of DEMA. That's an honor to be on our show. Usually we don't have anybody of any kind of stature on our show, so that's kind of cool. Except for Dan Orr, he always brings our level up,
Well, we do have a dive god, but when you bring on someone like
that dive god, true.
The big kahuna from DEMA, I mean, this is kind of a big deal today.
So we this is our 25th issue just coming out, and I wanted to take a deep dive and look at the industry for the last last 3 years. We all went through COVID in 2020. We had a huge rebounding year in 2022. 2021 was things reopening up. 22 and 20 started throughout most of 22. We had a lot of pent up demand for everything from gear sales to travel to training and everything. So we kind of reset the industry in 2023. And if you go back to about 2018 or 2019, that's that big gap. That's about as far as you got to go back to where things were what we call semi-normal. But it never really returned to normal after 2020. We've changed the way everybody's doing things. We changed the mere fact that we're all working from home now and things like that. It's a lot different. So I decided to take a deep dive and look at the last 3 years. We've been doing the Klein quarterly surveys. It's not through the magazine, but through Klein Group for 25 years. It's our 25th year of doing them every single quarter. We've had 11,000 responses over those 25 years. But for the last 3 years, we looked at to see, okay, well, what's been happening in our industry, because we really don't have a good global picture. And this is the best picture that we've got because it's responses mostly from retailers. So it kind of tells us what's happening in the retail environment. So 2026 year, we believe, is going to be an execution year. It's going to not a rebound year, but more of a stabilization. 23 and 24, we had this giant peak in 23 with a lot of pent-up demand that was purchased, still left over from 22. 23, 24 went into pretty much of a correction, we called it. And then 25 was a recalibration, sorry. So 23, 24, 25. Anyhow, long story short, there's 8 pages of data starting on page 44 in this January issue. It has become, from the minute we launched this issue, the #1 most read issue of almost of all time, certainly in the time span. And it's not because it's anything brilliant that I wrote. It's just that it's insight that you can't find anywhere else right now. So we even have a quarter-by-quarter comparison for the last 3 years for our 4 categories we track: gross sales, certifications, travel, and equipment. And the bright spots, travel and some pioneers in the industry like Cheryl Patterson and Catherine Castle and Alex Brilski, have been saying that travel is so much more than just something you do at a dive shop. And there's now purpose behind travel. And it's completely reflected not only in the editorial articles we're writing in the magazine, but also in the data. It's the most stable and most recovered sector of the entire dive industry. So you can't ignore that fact that travel is a very, very important and functional part. And I love the fact that we've got some great writers this month. Kramer Wimberly and Alex Brilski both are carrying 2 different torches, one on the left and one on the right hand, about the travel market and how it's undergoing some massive changes. And if you don't, as a retailer, adapt and understand these changes, you may not be able to keep up with your competitors.
Boy, Willie, I'm glad you gave us a little bit more description, because when you started off and said 2026 is going to be an execution year, I'm like, who's dying? Who are we taking out? I mean, so thank goodness.
So I have 2
farther.
I have 2 things. It turns out we got 2 people in this room that are on the call today that have dove in Kwajalein. That's Dan Orr. I had no idea, Dan, so it'll be fun to talk to you about that when we get there. And Nicole asked too, is how do you get the survey results? You just go to ScubaDivingIndustry.com or go to the mat, and you can click on the January issue and you can see all of the results. I just sent out, or going to be sending out in the next few days, the actual 4th quarter, which has a little more detail in the 4th quarter analysis, but it's all included in that article. So thank you, Nicole. That was a great question.
Yes, which brings us to Nicole Russell, the interim
Absolutely.
DEMA CEO, or so, what is the official title other than Grand Poobah of everything in diving?
Interim president and CEO. Let's not forget the interim, just standing in the gap.
Okay. You got a hat or something, and cape or something now for this?
Yeah. I didn't want to whip that out for the podcast. It seems a little much.
That's okay. We appreciate you joining us. Are you excited, Nicole, or what? Come on.
I mean, I am, absolutely. I wanted to say that it's really business as usual, but I didn't want to short Tom. I mean, he retired at the end of December, and, Tom Ingram had been our leader for 23 years. So how could you short him? He was an amazing man, and he left us in an amazing state. We know what we're doing. So it is business as usual. We are proceeding to do our programs and working on making DEMA Show great. We have 5 new amazing board members coming on board to bring new ideas. So it's an exciting time. And I mean, he left me ready to step in and make sure that things keep going until we pick our new leader.
Well, I mean, you were there for God knows how many years while Tom was
I
at
was
the
actually
lead.
there a couple months before Tom. I want to say
Right.
I came on in like March and he came on in September, something like that. So yeah, I've been
Well,
there
I
just as long.
can only say this because he's not here, but you did all the work. He got all the credit.
Yeah, you know, the head of
I
West
mean,
Now it's time to
no,
flip that.
he wrote all the things that we had to do. So there you go.
Well, he's a good guy.
Well,
I know
great.
you love
Rochelle did a great job of the interview with you. And if, by the way, it's on page 36 of the January issue. It's really worth reading because it's, by the way, that is the #2 most popular article in the issue after the research study
That's
article.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know.
What's going on. And, Rochelle asked great questions. She's wonderful. The 4 of us are wonderful as a team. Colleen, Rochelle, Alicia, and I, we've got it covered.
I love the fact you're offering free membership now at DEMA and booth spaces are 50% off. So that's some cool things in the interview. It's worth reading.
Dan told me just lead as you see fit. So that's what we're doing over there. I did want to say, speaking of free, I do, and for the record, that's not true, Willie.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, wait a minute.
I do think it's very cool, your press release services, Willie. That's very helpful. You can never get out information in enough ways. We were just talking about this earlier, that we try to repeat our message so many times and still people don't know what we do at DEMA. We're so much more than DEMA Show. So you can never get out your information enough. So I think that's wonderful service.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
And it's never too early to plan for the show in New Orleans in November. Do we have any updates on how the show's evolving so far or no?
It's looking good. We had a wonderful response to our space selection. We haven't released registration yet, so I don't know anything about signups, but exhibitor signups are going wonderfully. I'd say from a numbers perspective, last year was larger and better, and I think the vibe was better. I feel like we had some of that exciting, happy vibe back from prior to COVID. I can't say all those years were blamed for COVID, but people are ready to get back face to face and do business and connect, and relationships are important. Yes, we can Zoom and it's great that everyone knows how to Zoom. I love it. Technology's hard, so yay, people are doing it, but you can't beat face to face. You really just can't.
Yeah, it's so true.
Nothing like it.
So true. And if you go to the DEMA show, go to demashow.com, you can see the floor plan. And I mean, there is just hardly anything available. I know because I'm trying to move my booth and I can't find anything closer. It's just amazing. So well done. Well done. It's going to be a great show. Britt and I start actually telling our advertisers / exhibitors, they should be planning in March and April. If you're not starting right now in early February, mid to late February, at least with a long-term plan, you're not going to have a successful edema than if you start now and you
from the
out,
exhibitor
right, Nicole?
And from the exhibitor and the attendee standpoint. I mean, exhibitors, you got to market where you're doing so people know, and attendees, you got to plan your show. There's so much to do and be done. If you don't plan it, you're missing out. You're missing out. You got to schedule it up.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I had somebody come up to me at the show and say, most of it is overwhelmingly fantastic. But they said, how are you doing this? I said, I'm just not getting really much traffic, And I said, well, did you do anything prior to the show?
Right.
No, of course not.
You have to tell people what you're offering.
And not just the month before. You need months and months to tell people, hey, we're going to be there. We're going to be there. Drive a reason that they need to come see you at your booth. That's really important.
Yeah, you'll get out of it.
What's the rule? You got to tell people 7 or 8 times before they listen to you, something like that. So
but you'll get out of it what you put into
12,
it.
But
that's the bottom line right there.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the only event like it as far as it comes to the dive industry. So I think if you're part of the industry and you're not going to the DEMA show, I don't know how you can be a part of the industry. That's just my 2 cents.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do want to also make a call. We will be sending out our call for abstracts for speakers. Yeah. And what we've noticed is that industry speakers, we have some here with us, Tech, Jeff, Dan, they've all spoke as part of DEMA's program. And there's wonderful results because there's nothing like sharing what industry professionals are doing that's working. So if you're an industry professional doing something that's working, submit an abstract. Let's share our working ideas with each other so we can rise our whole industry and not compete amongst ourselves. We have such bigger competitors.
To Nicole, everybody on this call has something to offer. Everybody.
Absolutely.
To some sector. They wouldn't be here if they didn't have it. So thank you for that challenge. And I'm going to challenge all of them to respond to that abstracts when it comes out, because you all collectively have great things to say to our industry.
Absolutely. And thank you for all your input. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. Sharing is caring. Get on that
That's right.
bandwagon for sure. All right. Well, she has an industry to run, so I don't know if she's going to
Yeah.
hang
Yeah,
with us
I
for
better
the.
get back to it. But
Yeah,
thank you for having me so much. Thank you.
Thanks for being
absolutely.
on, Nicole.
Nicole Russell. What a lady. All right. Up first is our first writer from.
That still has frostbite, I think.
It does it?
Frost nip.
Probably so, because Dan Ord just came from the Antarctica, right? Yeah, and
Yeah, those are the photos I took behind me there of some Gentoo penguins.
Sweet. All right.
Yeah.
So on the latest issue, page 6, the rule of 3, the principle for error recognition and critical rethinking. So what is it about these 3 issues in this article that we need to know about there, Dan?
Well, I think it really has to do with preparation, not only physical preparation of your equipment and everything else, but also your emotional and mental preparation. Because anyone who's dived with me, and I apologize for that, I take a lot of time to get myself prepared. In fact, when we do dives in places like the Antarctic, I'll sometimes go up to the preparation area, which was a helicopter hangar we use, which is kind of nice because it's out of the wind. But I'll sometimes go up there almost 2 hours before the dive to set my equipment up to make sure everything is the way it should be before I ever get dressed out to do the dive. And if I'm doing that and I make an error and then I make another error and I make a third error, then to me, there must be something going on. So what I do is I'll stop, take a deep breath, and just kind of rethink the dive, rethink my preparation, because there must be something going on that's affecting my ability to properly prepare myself for the dive. And I think that's something that really applies to our everyday life. If all of a sudden we're under a lot of stress for some reason or other, and we make some errors, then I think we just need to stop for a minute and kind of rethink and then get ready to do the reset button to get yourself ready to start all over again.
I like it. It's kind of like air consumption, right? The rule of threes. Just kind of
The rule of thirds, yeah.
build that through. So did you apply this principle to your Antarctica adventure, you think?
I always do.
Yes.
I always do for everything that I do.
Yeah. And did you have to apologize to your dive buddies there too? Or...
I always do. Because I tend to be the slowest person in preparation as it goes on. And I also like to take time and kind of talk about the dive with the people I dive with. I like to look at their equipment, and I like them to look at my equipment to make sure I'm familiar with theirs and they're familiar with mine, because I don't want to have to go through some sort of a learning process if something were to go terribly wrong during the dive.
Right. Yeah, all this newfangled gear, you got to stay up on it sometimes.
Dan, I just put up a map that you had in your From the Roads notes there.
Yeah.
Would you mind telling us kind of where you were down there? I know you went across the Drake Passage, but
yeah, we went across the Drake Passage, and last year we actually had what was called the Drake Lake, where it was actually so calm we stopped and deployed a Zodiac, and people actually did some dives in the Drake Passage. This year it wasn't quite that way. So you have to go from the tip of South America, which is a little town called Ushuaia, which is the southernmost town in the world. And then you go across the Drake Passage, which is a couple 100 miles, and you get to the tip of the Antarctic Peninsula. We were actually supposed to go to the western side of the Antarctic Peninsula into the Weddell Sea, but because there was so much ice there, we couldn't do that. So we ended up having to go to the eastern side, which we've done before, but we went further south than we normally do. We went south to past the Antarctic Circle. And the one thing they do with Blue Green Expeditions, which is a company that runs these expeditions, is they tend to go to places where people have either never been before or very few people have ever been before. And on this particular expedition, because the ship we use is ice rated, we were able to go to places that the cruise ships couldn't go.
I think I got the ship up there right there.
Wow.
You can
Yeah,
see
that's the
ship there.
Ortelius,
Yeah.
which is from Ocean-Wide Expeditions.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm suffering from shrinkage just talking about all this, but
we won't
it's
talk about
impressive. Yeah, TMI. Okay, sorry, but I mean, it's a great adventure. I mean,
It is.
that sounds
It really
like a bucket list kind of thing. And
Yeah, to me, I call it a life list rather than a bucket list.
all right, there you
Sometimes your bucket gets empty, and I want to make sure mine never does.
go. Okay, well, you're doing pretty well at that. When are you heading back there? You going to already got plans?
Well, right now we don't have anything scheduled. I am going to Iceland in August for the eclipse.
Oh, how
And
fun.
I'll be leading that expedition.
Okay, well,
That
good
would be
stuff.
cool. That'd be cool. Iceland for the eclipse. So
Yeah.
we're going to go from the chilly waters of Antarctica. And by the way, you got a lot of snow up there in Driggs right now?
We have hardly any.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh.
warmest winter we've had since 1960.
Well,
Wow.
you probably earned it. is my guess.
Yeah, it's like pay it
Yeah.
forward.
Right.
So we're from the chilly barrens of Antarctica to Indonesia.
Sure. We got
Greg?
David and Lily. They wrote on page 23 of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine a group dive guide to Indonesia. So, what are the regional differences since Indonesia has over 17,000 islands? Lily, you up first, I assume?
Yes, I'm going to start.
All
So
right.
since Indonesia spans about 13,000 miles, or roughly 4 times the length of the United States, there are many different cultures over those 17,000 islands that developed independently over hundreds of years. So, for example, the Western region, located off mainland Asia, and reflects all that influence, while the eastern regions of islands are located near Australia and Papua New Guinea and share similar languages, traditions, and culture in the islands.
Yeah, and an interesting popular diving destination in the central part of Indonesia is a relatively small island of Bali, where artistic people migrated to because they were allowed to be free to practice their varied art forms, including dance and drama, and it's primarily in this primarily Hindu society. And the Dutch government controlled most of in modern-day Indonesia from the 1700s until 20th century, but failed to conquer Bali until 1906, and decided to let Bali keep its unique culture instead of trying to change things. And now Bali is one of the top destinations in the world for tourists and a really good place for scuba diving. In fact, one of our favorite dive sites is the Liberty Wreck on Tulumban Beach. And that was an interesting story because at first it was 3 possibilities what the Liberty Wreck was. Nobody really was sure. And so I did some research and found out which wreck it was. It was actually one that was used during World War I and transported railroad ties over to Europe and troops and things like that. And then it was set off into the service, for the maritime service, and then was in Australia during World War II. And it came up around Bali, delivering some material, and a Japanese submarine torpedoed it, hit it once with a torpedo and thought that was it, but it stayed afloat. And the next day, an American destroyer and a Dutch destroyer came up on it and towed it as far as they could, which was to Tulumban Beach when it started taking on too much water. And so they beached it on the beach, and that's where it stayed until the 1960s. And that's when a local volcano erupted, and the lava pushed it out into the sea where it's currently located. And so that's an interesting place to find it. And it has all sorts of marine life all around it: blue ribbon eels, pygmy seahorses, you name it. It's all there. It's just a tough place to go from the shore because the rocks are about softball size, and you have to usually hire these local ladies that'll carry your gear out to the water for you.
Wow. How deep is the wreck?
The bow is down around 100 feet. That's where the pygmy seahorses are. But the stern of it is around 30 feet, and that's where schools of fish hang out all the time. But it's broken, and that's where the railroad ties, people thought, oh, they were taking it to the Philippines. No, actually, they stole it en route to World War I to use as ballast in the bottom of the boat.
So just see there's over 19,000 islands, like you said in your article, in Indonesia. 17,000. And I love the fact you broke it down into 3 general regions. So if you're a dive shop out there, you're trying to figure out where to go. They both did a really good job of trying to explain the different regions: Sulawesi, the Bali region, or I think the last is the eastern region. This article. So
wait, did you say the ladies though take your dive gear to the water?
Yes, they're very sure-footed.
Wow.
Us without our dive gear, we're wobbling around, nearly falling down, just trying to get out to where we were waist high, with our fins and masks and things of that nature. It was so bad, but they just like sure-footed and carried it on their head.
Wow. Okay, well that's cool.
Were they barefoot, David?
Probably yes. I think so.
Huh. Well, you bring that stateside, that whole technique. Now all the women have looked at me and they're like, don't think so, Greg. Don't try that one.
Going to get canceled.
Lily, did you say something more about Bali?
Yeah, well, we really enjoyed Bali with all its interesting cultural sites, but we also traveled to the north and southern regions of Sulawesi, as well as the islands of off New Guinea, that's also called Raja Ampat today. Most of the divers have heard about Sulawesi's famous destinations like Wakatobi and Limbe Strait, where you can find all kinds of unique marine life that's not found anywhere else in the world. So as an example, I was in Limbe Strait about 6 months ago for a photo workshop and had a list of critters that I wanted to find and photograph. And this list included, of course, the blue-ringed octopus, the hairy octopus, which was really rare, the wonderpuss, hairy frogfish, the hairy shrimp, skeleton shrimp, 3 types of pygmy seahorses, a lot of macro-type features. And my eagle-eyed dive guide found every single one of them plus more.
Wow.
Cool.
That's very cool.
And hairy octopus. I didn't know that.
I know.
I'm gonna add that one to my my life list. Dan, sorry.
Yeah. We dove the Raja Ampat area a long time ago when it was actually called Irian Jaya back then, if anybody remembers that. Back then it was referred to as frontier diving, and it was mostly land-based on remote islands, and you stayed in a bamboo and thatch roof, huts with mosquito netting around your mattress, and you stayed there with the native islanders. As a matter of fact, our camp pet was a cassowary that was similar to an ostrich, but more dangerous and feared by most people in those areas. And there were many now, but things have changed. Now there are many liveaboards patrolling the pristine reefs and more modern land-based resorts to choose from. So we really need to head back there again, because
that's great.
It's got a lot to offer.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it. All right.
That's awesome.
Thanks, gang.
Thank you for the great article. So before we move on to the next guest, I got to put up a photo for everybody to look at. So everybody gets to guess who is the person in the photo. There are 2 people in this photo.
I know.
Yeah. So the blonde is Liz Parkinson, teaching Britton his junior open water course when he was 10 years old in Nassau, Bahamas. So I just want to intro that before you introduce Gil and his great article that he's written for us.
That's right. Gil Zeimer, page 37, Life After Death, an interview with Liz Parkinson on discovering your next chapter. Liz, quite a lady. She's featured, as one of the main stunt people from the latest Avatar movies. And so what can you tell us there, Gil? How did that interview go with her?
Well, it went great. I was introduced to Liz about a year ago by Willie, because he always knows that I'm looking for articles to write and for speakers at my scuba club in Marin County, north of San Francisco. So he told me about her, and I've been following her career, and I always thought she'd be a great interview, but she couldn't have been more kind and more generous with her time on 2 phone calls and a Zoom. She was just the nicest, down-to-earth person, despite her fame. And Kenny Dahl of the Scuba Diving Channel called her the greatest underwater athlete in the world. And why did he say that? Well, she swam competitively in high school and college. She qualified for for the Olympics, the Summer Olympics in Athens in 2004. She's been diving for over 20 years and has over 10,000 dives under her belt, most of those at Stewart Coves in the Bahamas, where she worked for 10 or 12 years. And she's been a dive instructor, a dive master, a free diver who co-wrote a PADI course, can hold her breath about 6 minutes. She's an actor. She's a model. Look at this. Can you see this ad here? She's in an Avilo ad because she does modeling for them.
Mm-hmm. She's been a ScubaRadio mermaid, by the way.
Yeah, she is.
Really? She probably doesn't put that on her resume.
But no, I guess she didn't. Yeah, I looked on IMDb and I didn't see that.
Yeah, I would ignore that if I were her.
So
too.
Also, she's a shark wrangler. And yeah, she's definitely a stunt person. She was in the first and third Avatar movies as Sigourney Weaver's stunt double. And she was actually nominated for an Oscar, and her team, her stunt double team was nominated for an Oscar and a SAG. And remember, don't believe what you see on Google through AI, because I was researching her before I talked to her, and it said she won an Oscar for her stunt double work. And I asked her about that. She goes, "No, that's wrong. I won a SAG award." So never trust Google. Double check your facts. And then finally, this article shows that the main part of the article is that it shows that in the diving industry, there is life after depth, as in the title. If you're passionate about taking the next step to an adjacent career, like she did, to being a stunt woman, a not just a dive master, but a free diver instructor, an actor, a stunt woman, and so on. But it's a good article to show that even though you're very accomplished in diving, there are other things you could do if you get burnt out and getting wet.
Yeah, Liz is an amazing lady. I mean, I had we've had her on Scuba Radio many times over the years too, and you're right. She's very gracious with her time, and one of my best stories is I was in New York City and I was there for the New York Marathon. I was just a bystander. I wasn't going to run in that madness. And here comes Liz, running in the marathon. "Hey, Greg, how you doing?" Just a very cool encounter. But
she
she's
just
always
did a half marathon last weekend in the LA area.
She does insane stuff.
That's
Makes
a
us
great
all look
article.
bad.
Thanks, Gil. So speaking of movie work,
Thank you.
Neil, you've done a ton of movie work. I mean, I know you've worked with James Bond and just about everybody else out there.
Yeah, I've had a pretty good experience with that. It's been a lot of fun. Not that financially rewarding, but some great times, some great adventures for sure.
Yeah. Didn't you certify one of the royal family?
Do what?
Didn't you
The
certify
royal
one of the
family.
royal family?
Yeah,
The Duchess.
Fergie, the Duchess of York.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did a 2020 special with Jean-Michel, and we did a shark dive in chainmail suits with her. She was quite a lady. I mean, she was tough as nails, a good diver. Well, we taught her to dive, but she caught on to it very easily.
Yeah.
And you said that Secret Service agents all had guns in the water, right?
Yeah, I don't know what they were supposed to do down there. A boat would go about 5 feet, whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, he's done it all for sure. The dive god Neil Watson. All right, let's move on to our next writer, page 14 in Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. Jeff Ciampino. Can you really do it all? Take a good look at your schedule, and how does a manager handle everything when you're a small operation, Jeff? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there was a variety show on when I was a kid, and one of the acts on that variety show was a guy who was spinning plates on these little sticks, and he kept spinning more and more plates. And sometimes, as either a dive shop owner or a manager, you feel like that guy spinning the plates, and you're just running from one to the next to keep them going before they crash down. And sometimes what you have to do is take a look at how many plates you got up there. And that's really your schedule. And your schedule, you spend a lot of time at the end of the year building out your schedule, building out your courses, scheduling your pool time and all that stuff. You have your travel booked, because right now, if you don't book travel a couple years in advance, you're not getting to the places you want to go. So there's a lot on your schedule, and we're always very, very aggressive in building out the schedule. But it might be good if you're a dive shop owner or a manager of the dive shop to take a step back and look at that and say, okay, all these things are on my plate. Can I get them all done? Do I have enough staff, and will I have enough staff at the right time to be able to do all that stuff? So if you have travel planned, who's your trip leader? They're not going to be available at that point. Sometimes your staff wants to go on that trip as well. So you got to factor that in. They're not going to be available for things that you might have planned during that time frame. So there's a lot going on there from a staffing perspective that you need to take a look at. And like I said, we're always wanting to do more and more and more, but you have to really be realistic. Can you get it all done? Is your service department going to be staffed properly for those crunch times when everybody wants to get things going? So it is a time to take a step back early in the year and look at it and say, can I really get all this stuff done? And equally, you're going to have a lot of people coming to you asking you to do more. And that's really an important time to say, can I get it done? Because the last thing you want to do is put activities out on your calendar where people get excited about it, and then you can't deliver on them. So now's a good time early in the year to really look at that full year schedule and think about whether you can get it all done, and do you just have too many plates up on those pegs trying to spin them throughout the year.
It's a great kind of retrospective planning article and at the same time. So great advice there for dive shop, any business owner, really, not specific to a dive shop, a retail shop at least.
Yeah. Well, just life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going on a big month-long vacation for the first time in 30 years, and I had to do 10 shows in advance. And if you would have asked me 6 months ago if I could have juggled those dishes in the air, I'd say, "Oh, hell no." But I actually figured it out. But it was all time management type stuff, just like you're talking about, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Great article.
All right. Up next, we got Rachel. Let's see, page 12. You're not alone. Help in selling travel. So what's your secret to filling group trips at your shop, Rachel? What can you tell us?
Well, I gotta say, Jeff, I love your plate analogy because as a new dive shop owner, we're coming in and you've got all these plates that are probably already up in the air. You're trying to figure out which ones are the most important to prioritize. And Will, you made a really good comment at the beginning of this podcast where travel is an area where a lot of dive shops, if they focus, if they really learn some of the changes that are happening, they're going to see success. And so the article we wrote is about how do you start? Because coming in as a new owner, I had never run a trip for a group. And it was pretty daunting because we were looking at the market at large and hearing about people selling out trips, 20 plus people. And for us, we didn't think we could do that. And so really to get us started, my advice is to just book the trip. So find a destination that's a little bit easier to attain. Maybe it's only a flight away. We chose the Cayman Islands. And I love the phrase, do it scared, because I think, especially as, a new owner, a lot of things are first time things. And so you're doing things and you're maybe afraid of failing, or you're maybe afraid of the unknown, what might happen. And, you just have to go out there and do it scared. So we booked the Cayman trip. We were going to Cayman Brac, and we did not have a ton of marketing resources. We did not have a marketing engine coming into the business. So we did what you basically learn when you're, in college. We put together flyers, we put together information. Every single person that walked in the shop, we talked to about the trip. We told them and marketed this trip and this exciting adventure. We ended up only having 3 clients on our first trip. And let me tell you, that felt like a failure. We really, when you're looking at 20 plus people on other trips, 3 seems like, wow, we didn't do everything we could have. But we changed our mindset. And once we got there, we focused on delivering an incredible service. We were very attentive to every single person on that trip. We had swag bags ready at the front desk. We were there to greet them as their shuttle arrived. We really got to know every single one of those 3 people very well. And we were taking photos. We were taking photos of them diving underwater. I think a lot of people forget that there's really amazing animals underwater, but there's also opportunities to show your customers, hey, this is you diving and doing it. And so we really created just this bond and this relationship that became contagious. And, the next tip that we have is network outside of your shop while you're there. We were fortunate where we were such a small group. We were on a big boat. And the rest of the boat saw how we interacted, how our group mentality was throughout the whole trip, that they were like, whoa, I want to be with you. I want to travel with you. I want to do things with you. And so we really built this community outside of just the 3 people that we brought on the trip. And fast forward to today, we're running the same trip to the Caymans, and we sold out the trip with 22 people.
That's
And
great.
6 of those people were people we met when we were on our trip to the Caymans that did not come with us. So it just goes to show you are always representing. You are always representing that community that you're building, that shop that you're building, and those personal relationships that you're growing. And that last tip is just a follow up. So thank your divers. If you are meeting people outside of your shop that didn't come with you on the trip, get their email information, add them to your newsletter, get them involved, because that's how we signed up 6 people that don't live in Michigan.
That's
That's
amazing.
how we were able to go from 3 clients, which seemed like a failure, to now selling out a trip with 22 people. So just a way for people that are just getting started. I think what's incredible about this magazine is we read these articles, my husband and I, and we love, like, Lily and David Pritchard's, your articles about Indonesia and the Philippines. I mean, those are places we're taking our clients now, and we're referring to those articles to help guide us. But our article here is just kind of get started. This is how you get started. This is how you do it. And if anyone's out there looking to do that first trip to launch their travel program, reach out, because we've been there, we've done that, and you're not alone.
Great advice.
Dive in and read her article as our orientation dive. How
Thank
about
you,
that?
Rachel. I love this series. So they bought a shop in 2024, middle of summer's arco, beginning of summer, and they've been kind of blogging their journey in our magazine to other retailers, and it's been such insightful advice you've given. So thank you. It's a great series. Continue. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You got it. Alex Brilski up next, page 26. Oh, wait, you got something else?
No, I'm gonna steal Alex's thunder just for a second, because I alluded to this at the beginning of the show. And
Yeah.
I'm a big numbers man. Everybody knows I love numbers, but this is directly from his article. And if you haven't read it, you need to read this article on. Sorry, there it goes on page 26. This is a survey of 2,400 divers by Greenfins. So this is not some small survey. It's a huge survey. When you look at the fact that 70% say they're willing to pay more for a sustainable option of a vacation, everyone needs to listen to what Alex is saying, and Kramer after him. So I just wanted to pull that out. And hopefully I didn't pull anything out of your presentation, Alex, your discussion. But I think that's a very, very significant number that I think people sometimes don't understand.
Absolutely.
I would say overwhelmingly it's not understood. When I started writing this article, I reflected back on when this has been a soapbox issue of mine since I went back to graduate school in 1994. And back then, as I screamed and yelled, the industry largely ignored it. I felt like this little kid they'd pat on the head and say, "Oh, yeah, we'll get to that when we get time." And as time progressed, the travel industry generally went off in this direction and left us behind. I mean, sustainability in the travel industry generally, if you talk to somebody not in the dive industry, say, well, of course, we've been doing this for a decade or more. And so finally, I think some folks in the industry began to wise up, so to speak. But the point that I try to make when I talk about this issue is that I wish I could say our industry led the way toward this sustainability perspective, but that's not true. We have been pulled into it by consumer demand, and that survey demonstrates unequivocally that that's the case, because we just have not done a very, very good job. And what I did in this article was try to capture in I think 1,500 words some of the the points that are bringing this to bear. And I talk about, aside from the data, and by the way, this includes a bibliography or reference list of 10 studies. This is not my opinion. And we look at the essential problems. We have a resource that is continually degrading. Coral reefs are in serious shape and they ain't getting better. As we have the degraded ecosystems to deal with, the problem in some areas, not all in the diving realm, but the destinations themselves are deteriorating to the point where now there are anti-tourism movements. If you remember from the news this past summer, there were anti-tourism demonstrations in Barcelona. And then, of course, this represents the whole issue of over-tourism, and that there's an over-tourism problem right now on Mount Everest. And so these are serious, serious issues. But, I hope to to provide it, a step in the right direction, or at least some points, and that the article goes through a quick 5-step plan, not of my design, but of the Blue Ocean Network and the folks at Reef World, where you can gradually build your business from taking tiny steps on through the ultimate goal, and that is making sustainability and environmental awareness the why of your business and the importance of that. And so, I hope it's, people can look at this as a template, or at least a direction piece on how we can really make a commitment, and not just, make sustainability something we do when we have time, because it's not going to work. Because I honestly believe that businesses that don't embrace this idea just aren't going to be around that long. And
we're not talking about just resorts. We're not talking about
not at
liveaboards. We're talking
all.
about every business. This is
We're talking
manufacturing,
about the entire
packaging.
business.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
entire supply chain, retailers, everybody.
absolutely.
I noticed now he's has an ad out right now that they have gone to eco-friendly packaging for all of their materials. So I mean, it's great to see. The most scariest stat on that entire article, Alex, I think, is 85% say it's hard to tell if the operator is truly sustainable, which means that
That is
either they're
exactly
not
the
doing
point.
it good. They're not doing a good job of explaining what they are doing in the sustainability world side,
Yeah.
or they are masking it.
Yeah, even those that are doing it are not getting the point out. So that's an important consideration.
Great
So
article.
we have a long way to go, but it is encouraging that at least the word is getting out. And I think as more and more younger people get it, because these ideas are magnified as you go younger and younger on the demographic. And Gen Z, for example, if you're not addressing, the the issue of sustainability and doing more than just making money, you're not going to capture that demographic. You just aren't, hasn't going to work.
Yeah, Wayne Brown wrote a really interesting article in, I think it was our November or December, it was December issue, about how that the younger travelers, they're seeing the Gen Zs especially, are very conscious of different factors than the older audiences are, and they've tried to modify some of their trips, or at least the marketing to appeals to them, and the schedules, so on. So it's great stuff. And I think I'm looking forward. I know we've got a bunch of articles in the hopper for you coming up, and I think this is a great series, and I think it's so needed. And I think you have been the light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people that haven't been listening. And it's so nice that one of your former students is our next speaker.
Indeed.
That brings us to Kramer. Yeah. Page 30, Beyond the Tourist Diver, and the Rise of the Restorative Professional. So what does that mean, Kramer? Is that an offshoot of what Alex just was talking about, or what?
I don't know if I'd say it was an offshoot. Thank you, Bill. And I feel kind of unnecessary here in this space, because you have Dr. Alex Brilski.
He's kind of a guy.
I would see
kind of a big deal.
All of my time to him. But Alex focuses on the dive industry and training dive professionals to understand what the importance is of the dive industry taking on not just a superficial kind of approach to conservation or sustainability, but imbuing a different ethos, right, into the minds of dive professionals, right? Because if we are able to turn dive professionals into dive professionals / ocean advocates and educators, then we've already taken a step, right, towards sustainability, right, and restoring our oceans and our coral reefs, right, because they are now using that as a mechanism when they're teaching the next generation of divers, right, about what our relationship is with the ocean and with the coral reef. So when they're getting in the water, that they're not going to be doing the accidental / destructive kinds of things when they're in the water. And when they're out of the water, they are now thinking about what their impact is on the ocean and on the coral reef, whether they're divers or not. Right? Reducing single-use plastics, how important it is to reduce the amount of, or what their carbon footprint is. Right. So everyone is now thinking differently from being exposed to a true dive professional who is concerned about their office being a place of business. The coral reef is where we do our work.
It sure is.
Right.
You know, I think one of the interesting concepts in your article on page 32 is the blue pipe. You call it the blue pipeline, and you have a nonprofit or work with a nonprofit, the Diving with a Purpose, that helps shape young minds and helps help people understand this concept. And I'm going to quote, it says, the current industry model relies on the churn, quote unquote, getting a student certified, selling them a set of gear, hoping they book a few trips before they drop out of the sport due to lack of purpose. The CARES blue pipeline replaces churn with continuity. So why don't you talk just for a minute about that blue pipeline concept in your nonprofit?
Absolutely. I am fortunate in that I have had an opportunity to work with a great continuing set of young people who are inspired to want to get in the water. And what my team and I are able to do is to inspire them to be better, right? To recognize what the importance of a healthy coral reef is. And with that, we're doing better than about 35% of our participants exploring degrees in marine science, right? And 26% of them have moved on to professions, right? Dive masters and dive instructors. Our goal in educating the youth is to go out and educate everyone about the importance of a healthy coral reef. So communicating with the travel and tourism industry, with the hotels, to say, hey, listen, if you have coral reefs outside of your hotel, the reason people are coming there is because they want to see the beautiful water. So you need to work with us in restoring those waters to make them look pretty, because it's part of your business model. So the dive industry, the travel and tourism industry, working with colleges and universities, right, who want to do research on a healthy coral reef. If we don't restore our coral reefs, then the idea of having some place to do that research becomes very problematic, as well as with the pharmaceutical industry. Alex could tell you better than I, but much of the next level cutting edge medicine is actually coming from exploring the organisms off of the coral reef. So while they're in decline, we're losing all of those things. And the goal is that is the blue economy that we should all be focused on restoring.
Thank you. It's an excellent article.
Mm-hmm.
I
Really,
also
really
want to mix, but I'm sure Kramer is checking in the mail.
Yeah, checks in the mail. That's great.
There you go. All right, well, let's move to our next article, page 18 in Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. We got Mark Hatter, How to Shoot the Perfect Over-Under Shot.
Which is...
that's that split
Yep.
photo, right? Above
Yeah, it
water,
sure
below
is.
water, I
Yep.
assume?
Yeah, it's the
Yes.
cover shot right there on our January issue. Great shot.
Thank you very much.
How do you do it, Mark?
Well, it takes a little bit of practice, but if you're familiar with the wide angle domes that we use in the industry, you can set your camera up to make sure that you've got a very small aperture, allowing a little bit of light to come through, which gives you the greatest depth of focus. And that allows you to focus both underwater and above the surface at the same time. Because remember, when you learn from basic scuba, you have a lensing quality of the water itself. It magnifies about 25%. So unless you make the camera adjustments proper, then what you're going to have is a piece out of focus on the bottom or a piece out of focus on the top. So being able to get the two pieces in focus at the same time is the hardest part of the exercise.
And I thought my iPhone could do everything. Daggone it.
So page 18 has got some great advice.
If I could just kind of make a comment here. I work for Blue Water Dive Travel as a photo instructor, and I did a course a couple years back at a destination, and we had people with the big rigs like I used to take the shot here, and half the class had iPhones. And we actually had a class where we went out, we did split levels, and we came back in, and the people using the iPhones were taking a shot above and a shot below and then stitching them together, and then showing everybody in the class going, look what I got on this.
Cheaters!
That's great.
And the people with the big rigs were just all twisted because they spent all this money on something, to try to accomplish a nice split shot, when the iPhones in these little small housings for about $250 were getting equally good images.
So then you set up a cage match and let them fight it out? Or?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well,
it's called disruptive technology.
Yeah.
You've been in the industry long enough, you'll see a lot of disruptive technology come along.
Yeah. But, with the new iPhones, can't you do some of that shutter type stuff on them? Or could you actually set the aperture so it's so tight like that where you could do an over-under shot and with an iPhone and make it work, or not really?
Well,
you need that dome kind of thing?
The reason why is the sensors are very tiny.
Yeah.
And as a result of having a very tiny sensor, your depth of field, your depth of focus is a lot deeper than what you would have in like a single lens reflex camera.
Yeah.
Or a mirrorless camera. So the larger the sensor, the more sensitive it is to depth of focus, depending on the lens that you're using. So the lenses that they put in the smartphones is very tiny, very wide angle. So virtually everything's in focus from an inch in front of it to out to infinity. So you can snap above, snap below, use software, stitch the image together, and get a beautiful split image shot.
Well, I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to just ask AI to do the picture for me and then defer to you guys for the pro shots. How about that?
That's great. Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks for the great image. Keep them coming. It's a great article. So I'm going to put up a photo here before we move on to our next speakers. This is some dear friends of ours, but this is Mark and Christina and Gavin in Kwajalein. They were there for how long? 2 to 3 years or so. And we're able to write this incredible article on the exact wreck that Mark wrote about. So I'm going to turn it over to them while they, if you want to go and introduce them, that'd be great.
Yeah, well,
I forgot how long my hair was.
Okay, there you go. That's true. There's a little bit more there. But on page 22, diving a World War II history frozen, or diving a World War II history frozen in time. How do you spell the Prinz Eugen?
Prince Eugen.
Okay, that's what I said.
You were close.
And it's on some atoll that I don't want to pronounce either. Tell us about
Kwajalein.
it. Okay.
Most people call it Kwaj, and it's an amazing location.
Yeah.
It's somewhere I dreamt of going to and being assigned to when I was in the Army. Never got that opportunity, but as soon as I retired, something blipped up on ZipRecruiter, and I thought it was a joke. I answered it. They called. I was on a plane just a couple of days later. And what a place to live. It's a self-contained little city, a little island at the Kwajalein Atoll in the South Pacific, or on the equator, about 7 degrees north. It's about 95 little islands in a circle of a lagoon. It has a average depth of about around 150 feet on the inside of the lagoon. On the outside, it goes on forever. To get there, you really either have to be Marshallese or part of the government that's there, the program that's there. It's a little city, so it has a power plant, a water plant, a school, a hospital, a cafeteria, a post office. So if you have any skills and you're looking for a job, it is a great place to live.
The only downside is it might thin your hair just a tad over time.
That's like saying there was some radiation in Nevada and I live in Alabama. I'm okay. The people in Nevada were
fine. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to
and they said they tested the Jorgen or the Prince that they've tested it and it was safe to dive around. It did go through 2 nuclear blasts, I believe, on Bikini Atoll. They drug it over to Kwaj. They were testing it. They were through testing it. They were going to scuttle it. And while they were pulling it out to scuttle, it broke free in a storm, flipped upside down, and now you have one of the most amazing dive shot sites in the world if you can get there.
And the nice thing about that wreck is you can dive it at night with no lights because it glows. So it's really cool.
Right. Oh, yeah. The
Okay.
bioluminescence around that thing is really off the charts.
Yeah. Is it? I mean, is it like totally encrusted, or is it, or what?
Oh
How?
no, it's a part. Yeah, there is some soft coral on it, but it's stuck in time. It's a perfectly. I guess the radiation maybe stops the coral from growing on it. I don't know. There's not a lot of coral on it. A lot of fish. Some really supersized groupers.
Yeah. None of them have like three eyes or anything.
Yeah, three-eyed fish like on Simpsons.
Yeah, there's iguanas, big lizards that are swimming. No, I'm just kidding.
I think Godzilla, the movie, was based there, but
I think I saw his cousin once. The sharks there. It is a shark sanctuary. The sharks are pretty big.
Well, another one to add to the bucket list. Life list, according to Dan.
Life list.
Sorry.
So
But
that
that's
is where I
cool.
got my dive master there, but I'm going to turn it up the diving to Gavin because now he's an instructor. He knows more than me.
That is a joke we got between us. He beat me to a college degree, but I beat him to an instructor.
So fair enough.
But I was fortunate enough to really kick off my diving there in Quadge, and we saved that particular dive. We had heard a lot about it through the community. There's a very well-informed World War II history buff area. There's a lot of wrecks around that area. And we saved that one because would have been my first 100-foot dive, and so we saved it for my 100th dive. It's beached upside down. In that picture, you can see the prop sticking out. It's upside down, deck facing the sand, and you just follow the side of the boat down. You can peep in the manholes. There's still some UXO, some unexploded ordnance you can see going through there, and you get about 100 feet right at the deck. And so you go down, you hit the deck, and then you cross the deck, and you start your ascent coming back up the other side. But just a great dive for my 100th. Dad was my dive master at the time, and a very memorable area, and lots of World War II history in the area as well.
Yeah, and at the deck, you're still looking down. You're at 100. It's still got another 75 feet to the bottom. And while you're there, the visibility on average good days, 200 plus. I mean, that's just an average day diving.
Wow.
Well, you want good viz because you don't want to accidentally bump up against one of those ordinances. I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, the torpedoes are there for sure.
Well, that's good stuff.
Great.
I love that.
And there is a lot of diving. Oh, there's a airplane graveyard there. The coral heads are amazing. It's just a great dive.
That's
Good
very
stuff.
cool. Thanks for the great article, Mark. Thanks for the great shot. So it's kind of worked out cool that we could have a few people here in the room that's actually dove that wreck.
There you go. All right. Well, Gretchen's up next, page 41, Fitness Insights, Information, Observation, and Experience. So how can a retailer profit from fitness, Gretchen? You're the guru.
Well,
Let's go.
all right. One word, longevity, is the topic of this series. And we're looking at what the longevity of diving clients and diving professionals can be in the industry and in the sport of diving. I just got a great email from someone giving me feedback on the article. This gal said, spot on. And she's been diving since 1957, and she's still diving. So if you think about starting a fitness for diving program at the age of 20, you've got 50 years or more of diving ahead of you, potentially, if you can take care of your body, yourself, your health, everything you need to do. So this first part of the article shows how a little bit of information can go a long way to starting a positive conversation about physical fitness for diving with anyone, right? Anyone that you meet in the industry. I plan to tell you a little story. I have just enough time to tell it. I hope that while I'm telling you, think about information. And the second part that we're going to talk about is observation. And that's for the next article. This story won't be in the next article, and you're only going to hear it here. So I'll be really quick. Two scuba divers walk into a bar. Oh, no, that's not it. Sorry, Greg.
It was me and Neil.
Yeah.
They're talking about us.
Yeah. So my dive buddy and I walk into the gym, and he knows it's my leg day. He looks over at that section of the gym and he goes, "Go on. I know you want to." And so I run down there. There's nobody on any of the equipment, I think I'm in Disneyland. And all of a sudden, the very first machine that I want to use, a couple of young college guys jump on it, load up a bunch of weight, and start using the leg press and the sled, right? Well, there's two sleds, but one's too big for me. This one is like perfect for biomechanics and size and all of that. So I go over and ask them if I can work in. And they look at me, look at the other sled, look at each other, and then go, oh, okay, right? And they decide they're going to unload the weight. I'm like, no, that's okay. Leave it there. I'll just follow you two. So we do a couple sets that way. And each time they're adding weight. By the way, the first set was 415 pounds, and I did 15 reps, right? So the next two sets, they added weight. I just did another 15 reps, another 15 reps. The set after that, I added more weight to the weight that they added. And we did another 15 reps. So they're finished now. And I only have one rep left. So I go, hey guys, could you stick around and just spot me for my last set, right? And so I add the weight on that I need for my last set. And I had already been able to see that they were excellent spotters. And so they helped me out. And I finished up at 960 pounds for 15 reps. That was a regular workout for me at that time, at this same size, little size I am now. So when you think about what information did my dive buddy have? What information did I have? What information did the two young men have? And what observations did each of us make? We could probably talk about that scenario alone for a little while about all the outcomes and the goals and the agendas and perceptions and judgments that could come from combinations of or lack of combinations of information and observation. So that's my story for today.
I love it. You destroyed those two young whippersnappers, it sounds like to me.
That was not my intention.
That's great. It's great. Well, we
boy.
waited not last, maybe almost last, but not least, is our very good friend Tech. Thank you.
That's right.
Gresham. Thanks for your article.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, page 16. It's part 2 of his article, The Advantages of Hosting College and University Scuba Club. So how can a retailer make money and, with a scuba club there, Tech?
Yeah, well, it's really a good thing to consider. First of all, lots of us know scuba clubs, right? We might have them, we might have been a part of them or whatnot, but I'm talking a different breed. This is a campus club. This is something that is on campus as a student organization. And the way that works, just kind of a little primer on that, is that under usually what's called campus life or student affairs or something like that, there's going to be a whole set of opportunities for students to get together and do clubs on like interest things. They can be anything. They can be academic or scholastic in nature. They can be hobby related. They can be fraternal life. Doesn't matter. It's all kind of part of the club network. So what happens is an interested group gets together, usually 3 or more interested students, and they come together with a charter that says, hey, we'd like to do something that's in our interest area. Here's our president, here's our secretary, here's our treasurer. Well, they need a faculty advisor. Now there's an advisor that comes along that also has that same interest area. And now they partner together, they put the club together, and there you go. So when it comes to all the different opportunities that exist, a scuba club is one of them. Many universities have scuba clubs already, and many are in desperate need of them. And here's why. You as the dive pro get that opportunity to go alongside, and I'll give you 2 examples. The one example is, let's say one already exists. If there's already a scuba club on campus, consider this. Chances are those 3 students that launched the club and other members in the club are not dive professionals. Second is that the faculty advisor is not a dive professional. It's usually a professor. It's usually a marine biology professor that has a scuba background and is like, hey, let's do this, right? Not a dive professional. So you get to come along and offer all kinds of things to that club. First is to be able to say, hey, look, you guys are going diving. How about a refresher at the beginning of every semester? Now you put on that refresher. Maybe you discount it, maybe you don't, however you package it and bundle it, but there you go. Now they're thinking safety. You pitch all the reasons why they should take a refresher. Second thing you can do is offer, if you've got a dive center, rental equipment. So now these students that need rental equipment to go on their dives, they can get it from you. Then you become that kind of trusted brand for them, right? The other thing that you can do is become that go-to where when someone wants to join the club, maybe they don't have open water credentials. You're now getting them so that they can be in the club because you're the go-to instructor for them to take a class with. And that also cascades into advanced and specialties and things like that. So that is coming alongside of the club and offering all those things. Now, here's the beautiful part. All you got to do is reach out to the faculty advisor, reach out to, I would say, faculty advisor, and then the campus life director that's in charge of those, and say, hey, we can do these things. And you know what would really be beneficial is if you had a dive professional, me, on these dive trips that the scuba club is going on. Here's what I can offer. I do briefings, safety briefings, readiness checks. I'm going to bring emergency gear on these trips, and we're going to debrief. I'm going to watch people that are, prone to panic or whatever, and voila, they all of a sudden are like, are you kidding? We need this. And a lot of places do. And you can get your foot in the door super easy. That's coming alongside the club. And the other way is to make one yourself. Pitch it to the campus life. Be the advisor yourself. There's no rule that says it has to be a faculty member on staff. So you're an expert. You come in, you show your credentials, you show what you can do and what you can offer. And now all you got to do is find 3 students that have this similarity. Hopefully they're one of your students that you've had at your dive center, right? And now they are the ones on campus doing that, and they launch it with you. And then there's the energy, and you've got all the social media. It's all part of the campus network. And boy, oh boy, it gets your foot in the door, and you will be rocking and rolling before you know it. Our last scuba club ended with 100 divers every semester, and the scuba club sold out in 12 minutes every semester.
I get the pitch. I got the pitch here. Scuba is the drug. Let me be your dealer. Oh, wait, that may not be.
That's good. Good. And Tech also sells a course.
Lots of little brown bags, right?
Called Campus Edge. You can look for it in the article. It's linked in there. If you're a retailer or an instructor, you want to learn how to actually create the whole program. This is a out of the box program for you, and it's about a 3.5-hour training program. It's well worth it, plus includes an hour of consulting. So we at the magazine 100% support this. We encourage everybody to sign up and buy this program. Tech has a lifetime of experience in that very specific area, and there's a college and university in almost every single town in every place almost on this planet, at least that has more than 10,000 people. So it's a great program. Thank you, Tech. I look forward to your next installment. It's a fantastic series.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
And Willie, I mean, it's not like you're not doing enough already, but you wrote a couple articles in the magazine we need to discuss.
So this won't take but a few minutes. I'm the very last wrapping it up here, but about 20 plus years ago, Stuart and Michelle Cove at the time hired me to come over to Nassau and to do some customer surveys. They wanted to know more about how their operation was performing and what people thought on the dock. Actually, this isn't a post survey. This was actually after someone comes off the experience, and they're a big volume operator over there, if you don't know, and around 50,000 people a year. And so they wanted somebody to help structure some in-person surveys. So I literally started out by coming in once a month to spend a couple of days surveying their customers, write the report overnight, and then give the presentation to them and then to all their staff at a staff meeting the next day. And from it, they would award kings and queens of the day or whoever did the best, and got customer service, people that had mentioned names and so on. So just basic business stuff. So we had sitting in their office one day, and he says, the problem we have is we have 20 boats across 6 locations on this island. I can't be on all these boats. How do I know that our staff are doing what they're supposed to be doing? Because the only thing I ever hear is usually the complaints from the guests. So being a petty course director, I went back and set went back to Dallas and I started thinking about the problem. How can we solve this problem? Unbeknownst to me, the system that I created is one that from what I understand, very similar to the military uses to evaluate performance on various duties. So it's a 1 through 5 simple called Likert scale, and it's basically along the concepts. If you get a 1 on any one area, you could potentially hurt somebody, so you'd most likely be in jeopardy of losing your job. And a 5 is what you strive for. It's called delivering extraordinary service. And the program I created was about 317 points of a standard 2-tank dive, because there's 14 individual modules within a 2-tank dive. It's everything from the boat being ready to the captain briefing, to the dive master's briefing, to the trip out, the dive experience itself, in and out of the water of both different phases, the time between the trips. So they break down to 14 areas of a standard 2-tank trip. And our industry doesn't have a training system for that. You can't go to university and learn how to do this. You can't take a class. You can't take a class from Patty or anybody, because usually what happens is a person shows up at a dive operation and they get trained by the person that they interned for a couple of days, and they got trained by the person they interned for a couple of days, and they might have came from a really sharp operation. They brought something new to the business that helps. But usually what happens, as Alex always described in our IDCs, is standards and procedures are like a 2-lane, like a road with a line down the middle. And as soon as you kind of deviate a little bit off to the left, next thing you know, you're going completely left turn. And never what the owner had intended for their dive experience to be. And that's exactly what happened in the resort environment or any boat environment. So over the course of 15 years, I wrote, executed, and tested on thousands of experiences, a program that evaluates this standard. It works for anything from a shark dive to snorkeling. It works really basically any experience. So after launched this magazine 2 years ago, I did the very first issue. I wrote a little bit about it. I wrote one article because I needed content. I didn't have anything to write about. And it was well received, one of the higher read articles of that issue, but I have been so busy, I haven't been able to go back to it. So I've sat down and wrote a 12-part series. This is one of 12, and it's basically on how the philosophy of the program functions. It's not the actual program, but it's how it actually does. And if you read along this series and you're a resort out there, you're liveaboard, or anybody that has a boat, it can work in even the retail environment. You can use very objective processes to evaluate something that's incredibly subjective. And that's exactly what diving tends to be. And so I call it delivering extraordinary service, because back 10 years ago in the training process for an instructor, the word service doesn't exist. It didn't exist. Now they've added some of their training to the PADI IDCs and some of the other IDCs to help, because they realize that once these instructors go out into the marketplace, they do other things besides just teach. And so half of the scores are built to support the safety of an operation. The other half are support for customer service. So that's basically what the article's about. It's a great read. It's a short read. They're not going to be long articles, but it is about building very simple systems that allow you to evaluate subject processes with objectivity. And then, once you do, it's like having Jeff McNutt last month wrote a little bit about how he got to the dive BVIs, and he did it by an extensive set of SOPs that he wrote for his business. And he's going to write a series for us too that's going to go along with this, about how to write SOPs, how to create systems within your company that your employees can follow. Because once they have a system to follow, they're happier, there's less stressful, they know who does what, your liability goes down, customer service goes up. So it's a win-win program.
All right. Well, Willie, according to your scale, I think we got a 4.8, but that was on a bell curve for the Level Up
thank you. That is a great podcast today. Thank you, everybody, for staying so long. It's been a wonderful show. Next month, we got some great content coming, more from Alex, more from Al, more from all these writers here. You can go to our website. We do have some cool news next month. We're going to unveil a new online hub concept for our digital magazine. We're still going to continue to use the digital flipping book concept, where it looks like a book when you flip the pages, but we're converting 100% of our content to native HTML posts on our website. So they're much easier to read with a mobile phone, a tablet, or just even the younger generations that don't necessarily need to see a book concept. So we think that's going to be a huge help to delivering the digital content a little better.
Well, good stuff indeed. All right. Well, that'll wrap it up for this month's edition of the Level Up podcast for Scuba Diving
Dive
Industry
God, do you
Magazine.
have any closing comments, Neil?
Yeah, what do you think, Neil?
Oh, it's great to be back. It's great to see old friends and meet new friends, and I look forward to being back on every show.
There you
Good,
go.
good.
All
So
right.
Neil wrote an article that was going to be a series, and I'm going to challenge him to do it again. It's called the Dive God Diaries. And the first installment was how he kind of got started diving. It was fantastic. Way back, I think it was a year ago in June. So maybe we can resurrect that series, Neil. That was just so great reading about your history.
I'll start working on it.
There you
Good,
go.
good. Brayton, you
He's
got
got a
anything you
plan.
want to say at the end here?
I got nothing much other than don't forget about our press releases, guys. They're absolutely free, and who you need to contact is going to be in the little description in this video, wherever it's posted. But thank you guys so much. It's so great to see everyone, and I can't wait for next month's Level Up podcast.
Thank you again, Britton. Greg, let's roll it up.
All right. Well, that'll do it. I am Greg the Dive Master. Check out Scuba Radio every Saturday, 3 to 5 Eastern Time. But that'll do it for this month's edition of Level Up. Till then, remember, it's always better.
It's better.
Downward where it's wetter.
This has been Level Up, the podcast of Scuba Diving Industry Magazine. Produced by Scuba Radio and the Klein Group. For more info, go to ScubaDivingIndustry.com.